This week's episode of the And She Looked Up podcast is brought to you by Fine Lime Designs. If the name sounds familiar, that's because it's my design business and the work I do there helps make this podcast possible. If you love colorful and whimsical art prints, greeting cards, and journaling stickers, then head over to my Etsy shop for a delightful browse. Just search for Fine Lime, like the fruit, designs, all one word, on Etsy, or click the link in the show notes. And now, on with this week's episode. Welcome to the And She Looked Up podcast. Each week, we sit down with inspiring Canadian women who create for a living. We talk about their creative journeys and their best business tips, as well as the creative and business mindset issues all creative entrepreneurs struggle with. I'm your host, Melissa Hartfield, and after leaving a 20-year career in corporate retail, I've been happily self-employed for 12 years. I'm a graphic designer, an illustrator, and a multi-six-figure-a-year entrepreneur in the digital content space. This podcast is for the artists, the makers, and the creatives who want to find a way to make a living doing what they love. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the And She Looked Up podcast. As always, I am your host, Melissa, and today my guest is children's book author Liliana Tommasini. Welcome to the show, Liliana.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm thrilled to have you. You are the first children's book author to be on the show, so that is your distinction. So for those of you who may not be familiar with Liliana, she is a wife, a mother of two grown daughters, and Nonna, which is an Italian grandmother of two, soon to be three grandchildren, and a pet mom to her dog, Maya. She loves to play games, read stories, and bake with her grandchildren. And she is a member of the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. She enjoys collecting cookbooks and writing reviews for her blog, My Cookbook Addiction. She also wrote monthly cookbook reviews for the Food Bloggers of Canada website. And Octavia Can Do It, which is her first children's book, is going to be launching on April 20th of this year. So that is very exciting. Congratulations.
No, thank you.
So we are going to be talking today a little bit about Liliana's journey, but we're also going to be talking a bit about the publication process that you've gone through to create this book. So, which is something we've never really discussed on the show. And I think there will be a lot of people who will be really interested to know a little bit about the whole process that you have gone through in this first book, because this is not a traditionally published book, if I'm correct. No. Yes. So I think that's going to be really interesting to a lot of people. But before we get to that, Liliana, the first question I ask everybody who comes on the show is, did you feel like you were creative as a kid?
As a matter of fact, I was. I'm dating myself now because there weren't any computers, iPhones, tablets to entertain us when we were children. So we had to entertain ourselves, which meant I read many books. And I learned how to knit when I was in elementary school. And since then, I've been knitting. Throughout the years, I've been knitting. And, I've done many crafts throughout these years. I've tried everything, but I always go back to knitting and reading. I love to read.
What's your favorite reading genre?
Okay. I like to read mystery novels, like from Louise Penny. Mm-hmm. And court thrillers from John Grisham, and books from Elena Ferranti. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
No, I'm not. Is she?
She's an Italian author whose books were translated into English. Okay. And they made a mini series on it on HBO of every book.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all in Italian, the series. It's subtitled in English, so people can who aren't Italian. Right. But even myself, they speak in a dialect that I don't understand fully. So I read the subtitles when I don't understand some words.
I do the same thing when I watch Shetland. The Scottish accent is so thick that I have to turn on the subtitles sometimes. We have very similar tastes in books. So I'm a big Louise Penny fan. I think it might have even been you that recommended her to me.
No, I think I did.
Yeah, I think so. So
And she's from Quebec as well.
She is. And for those of you
Yeah.
listening, Liliana lives just outside the Montreal area. So she is also from Quebec. And so, yeah, you're a big knitter. Are you the kind of knitter who gives people knitting gifts every year for Christmas?
Yeah, well, especially my grandchildren.
I just know because I love to knit scarves. And so everybody I know has, I mean, I have to do something with them, right? I have to find somebody so I can knit another one. So tell us a little bit about your background and sort of, because you are definitely, you're Italian or
Yes.
Italian ancestry, but I'm actually not sure. Were you born in Italy or were you born?
No, here? I was born I'm a first generation Canadian. Okay. I was born in Montreal. Yeah.
Okay. And what was it? So where did you see yourself going when you were a kid? Like, did you think you would follow a creative field, or were you wanting to be, because I know you're a mom, like where did you see yourself going when you were younger? And did you wind up where you thought you would go?
No, not at all. You know, and I was never a science fan. So in high school, I didn't take the sciences. I went through the secretarial route, taking typing and shorthand, all that old stuff, you know, just the younger people typing like on a real typewriter.
Yep.
So I thought I would go that way, but instead I ended up working in a typing pool and the technology department for Bell Canada. And I became interested in programming. So through Bell, I took courses and became a computer programmer.
I forgot all about that, but I actually knew that about you. I think we had a conversation about punch cards.
Yes, imagine.
So if you are a younger programmer or coder, you may not have been exposed to punch cards, but punch cards were what were used to program big old mainframe computers way back in the day. Yeah,
exactly. And if you made a mistake on one, that was it. You had to re-enter all, bring them and have them all re-entered in a computer to print out your program.
I did not, I that was before my time. I do remember though, when I spent 10 years working in IT when I was in the corporate world. And I do, my boss, who was not that much older than me, he was about 10 years older than me. I think he had to do punch card coding.
Yeah. So. Well, we've come a long way. Let me tell
yes. Now you can sit there on your laptop and hack into places you shouldn't go. Oh, that's cool. I totally forgot about that, but I did know that about you. So that's really interesting. And then you've got 2 daughters, I believe. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
Amelia and Michaela. Yeah.
Right. And I know this about you very well. You're a huge lover of cookbooks.
Yes.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I started collecting cookbooks in my teenage years. As soon as I got a job, I started collecting the Time Life cookbooks.
Right.
I used to get one a month.
Yes.
And I still have them. And that's how I started. You know, I love cookbooks. I love reading about them. So that's when I decided to write reviews about them.
Right.
You know, and that's my blog, My Cookbook Addiction, which I kind of neglected for a bit because I was writing the book, the children's book. But I still have all my cookbooks here and trying to make room to put children's books. And
you definitely wrote reviews for, as you mentioned, Food Bloggers of Canada. We used to publish your reviews on our site. They're still there if anybody wants to go check them out. Yeah. And so when you told me that you were writing a children's book, I was so surprised in the most pleasant way, because I think this is such a cool thing that you are doing. But when did you have the first little inkling that you might want to write a book? Like, did you ever see yourself writing a book when you were younger? Like, not necessarily a children's book, but just a book?
Well, I thought that when I was writing the cookbook reviews, you know, for a moment, I thought maybe I could write a cookbook.
You probably
My children were saying to me, Mom, you write reviews about other cookbooks. Why don't you write your own?
Yeah.
But, it wasn't a good time for me. Dealing with raising a family and
Yeah.
health issues and parents. And I didn't have the time to write any kind of book, let alone a cookbook, which I know takes a lot of time and attention,
Yeah. Yeah.
Not that this book didn't, but that's another kind of book,
Yes. Totally different kind
So
of book for sure.
totally different. So I didn't do that. But I think I got the idea when my granddaughter was born. I used to read her stories, little, Good Night Moon and The Hungry Caterpillar. And then once I bought a book that you could put the child's name in it.
Oh, yeah.
And personalized. And I said, but this doesn't feel like her. It's not representing her. And then the second grandchild came along. And both of them used to, or they still do, bake with their mama. Used to watch. Sometimes they bake with me. So I said, I kept that in my mind. Like, I've got to write about this. I've got to capture this experience somehow. And I don't know what happened. Last year in May, I decided, well, this is the time, when ideas come to you. This is it. I got to do it. And I didn't want to go the traditional publishers because you have to hire an agent, and that could take a long time. And then the publisher has to approve the manuscript, and that could take a long time. I don't like to wait that long. I figure I want to have it now that I'm still around, eh? I said, okay, I'll go the hybrid publishing. And I asked my niece, Lauren, who is a published author, and I asked her for references. And she says, oh, I saw this lady, Miriam Laundrie, at a conference with Jack Canfield, the one who writes the books there. Oh, what are they called? Cookbook for the Soul? No, Books for the Soul.
Oh, the chicken
soup for the soul.
Chicken soup for the soul. Yes. Yeah. I always forget that there's an actual author behind those. Yes.
Well, Miriam co-wrote a book with him about children. So she was at a conference. So I got in touch with them, and it's a hybrid publishing company. They offer a mastermind class, which I enrolled. Mm-hmm. And in that class, you follow, there's a children's book course by Sharon Jennings, who's also a children's book author. She wrote at least 60 children's books.
Wow. Okay.
So she gives a course. You follow this all through Zoom, of course. And you write your manuscript, and it goes through her editing process. So, you got to be ready. And I was always ready to take, not criticism, but let's say advice.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
And I said, okay, it's fine. I'm a writer, but I'm really new at this.
Yeah.
So after it goes through that, then it's ready to be illustrated. And you're the one who gets to choose your illustrator, not the publishing company, but you.
Okay, that's cool.
Okay.
Just to take a step back, like when you signed up for this program, did you have an idea in your mind of what the book was going to be about? Like, so for those of you listening, the book is about, it's based, I guess to say, on your granddaughter, Octavia. And she decides that she wants to bake some cookies on her own and the chaos that ensues. But there's a really nice sort of moral, I guess, at the end of the story, that even though we all want to be independent and do our own thing, sometimes we still need to ask for help, which is a very good lesson. A lot of people listening, including myself, could use that lesson. But like, did you, before you even signed up for the program or any of that, did you kind of have an idea in your mind what the book was going to be about? Or did that come as you started to work your way through the program?
No, I already had the idea mapped out in my head.
Oh, okay. So you were like, you really knew this is what you wanted to do.
Yeah,
like,
okay. Sure. That's why I was ready.
Yeah. And Octavia, obviously, and her brother were, I'm guessing, the inspiration behind the book. So
yes.
Yeah. So once you signed up for this program, you went through this whole route. And so what, you got to the point where you had, I guess, a first draft written, and you went through an editorial, an editorial. Is that the word I'm looking for? Anyway, you had the book edited by the woman running the program.
No, not the woman running the program is Miriam Laundrie. Sharon Jennings is part of the program. She gives the children's book course.
Okay, so she is the one who actually sat down with you and helped you and actually edited the book for you. Is that how that worked? Okay. And so then you got to the point where you got to pick an illustrator, and illustration is a huge part of children's books. So how did they give you a list of people who might be a good fit, or how did you find that person?
Well, they did. There's a list available. First, Miriam gives monthly meetings to all the people in this course, which is great. I love it. We get together with Zoom every month.
Right.
And it's a great support group. We're all first-time authors. Well, most of us are.
Right.
And, so we follow like a course.
What is the name of her program?
Mastermind course, Miriam Laundrie Publishing.
Okay.
And it's called Mastermind. And I think it opens up twice a year, or maybe once a year.
All right. We'll put a link to it in the show notes for people who want to check it out.
And so with this support group, you go through every step,
Right.
So, and one of them was finding an illustrator.
Yeah.
So they give you a list. They don't do it for you because that's something that's personal, that the taste you want, the type of book you want. And I already knew which illustrator I wanted.
Oh, wow.
When I go to Indigo, I usually go to the children's book and look around what I can buy for the kids,
Yeah.
And I saw this series called Princess Truly. It's published by Scholastic Books.
Mm-hmm.
And the illustrator was Amaria Rusher. And I said, I like the way she illustrates books, this, watercolor. And so I wrote to her and asked her, if you don't ask, you don't know,
Very true.
And she says, yes, I'll do it for you. And she says, I'll be available in October. I said, this was like August.
Yeah.
And I said, fine. So I got my illustrator.
You're making it sound so incredibly easy, honestly.
Wow. It's easy if you know what you want.
Yes.
Like, some people, like, if I didn't know about Amaria, I'd have to look. And actually, I did go through the list. But, when you have something in mind, I just wanted her. So.
Yes. Yeah. So that does make it easier. I mean, she's your first choice. And she said yes. So like you said,
yes,
you can't get a yes if you don't ask.
She's wonderful to work with,
Yeah, the illustrations are adorable in the book.
She also illustrated coloring pages that are on my website.
Oh, cool.
And that's bookmarks. Really cool. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, that's really cool. So once you went through how closely did you work with her through the illustration process? I'm asking as an illustrator because I find this fascinating. Did she sort of give you some concepts of what she thought and you okayed them for her to flesh out? Or did you sit down with her and say, like, I have a very specific, because you sound like you knew what you wanted. Like, I have a very specific idea of what I want the book to look like.
Well, first, she makes out a storyboard.
Mm-hmm.
She sends you the storyboard, every design, every phase,
right,
every page, because it has 32 pages.
Yeah, I mean, it's a children's book, so it's not like
a children's book. Yeah. So, you look at the designs and you approve them or not.
Right.
And then she starts, and in our course, they say, don't nitpick, like, don't tell the illustrator everything you want, because she likes to bring her own ideas, her own way of illustrating. You can't say, well, I want,
Yeah.
So, I didn't ask for many things. Like, I made sure my daughter's eyes were blue and her glasses are red, and, to represent her. But apart from that, everything was fine. There are little changes here and there, but nothing I just let her do what she wanted to do.
Awesome. Oh, as an illustrator, that makes me very happy.
Yeah, well, not to I want this and I want that. No.
Yeah.
I said, I wrote my story. Now you illustrated the way you read it,
So once you had the illustrations delivered, where did you go from there? What was the next step in that process?
The next step was to send it to the book designer, which is part of Miriam's team. she's part of, she's the one that puts all the book and the text together. And
Okay.
I also had the book translated into French.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that there's a French version coming out as well.
That was another thing, I had to find a French translator,
Mhm.
which I found in, our food blog community.
Yes, there are quite a few in there.
And then I had to get a French proofreader.
Right.
But everybody, this whole team has been so helpful. I never had any problems with any of them.
Awesome.
So now she put it together, the book designer put it together in French and then put it together in English.
Okay, so you did the French one first. Okay, interesting.
No, the English one first, and then she put together the French one.
Okay.
And after that's done, then you have to go through it with Miriam and an editor, Lauren, her name is, We went through to make sure there weren't any errors at all.
Right.
In the, again.
Yes.
and the French proofreader went over the book. I sent her the book design, in a PDF.
Yeah.
And she went through it again.
Yeah.
To make sure there weren't any errors, because, we can't publish a book with errors in it.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because yesterday I was recording an episode on ebooks, and today we're talking about traditionally printed books. And, the nice thing with ebooks is if you make a mistake, it's easily corrected and pushed back out. But when your book is printed, that's a whole different thing. It has to be perfect.
Well, exactly.
Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me that you went through a really rigorous editing process, which is good to hear. So once the book got the seal of approval, I guess you went to the print stage. Is that?
Yeah, that's another stage.
Yeah.
That's when another person, Helena of the team, she helps you upload it to Amazon.
Okay.
And that's a whole process too.
Okay. So are you actually, because I'm imagining if it goes to Amazon, then it's kind of like a print on demand, like it's printed.
Yes, it's print on demand.
Okay.
I didn't want to have it printed because it's a whole nother story.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Send it out, and your minimum printing is like 500 copies at least, and then you have all these copies in your house, and then I don't have a purchase option on my website.
Right.
So I said, no, this way, when you want it, you print. If you buy it, you print. You have it printed.
Okay. So do you see it ever being distributed to potentially Indigo or maybe even into the US through Barnes and Noble, or is that just not something you're interested in doing right now?
Well, actually, I approached Indigo, my local Indigo here.
Right.
And they said, well, you go on the Indigo webpage, and at the bottom, there's a page for authors.
Okay.
So I asked, and they only take like self-published. They consider my book self-published on consignment. So I said, okay. Anyways, they approved me on consignment.
Okay.
So as soon as I can get print copies of my book, I'm going to bring it. I spoke to the manager at Indigo, and he says, sure, bring 5 copies each, and we'll put them out on display.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you'll get
those. It is.
So you'll print those yourself through Amazon and then bring them in. And so when you do that through Amazon as the author, do you get them at cost or like a lower price? Like how does that work?
I get them at printing cost.
Okay, cool. So you can still make a little bit of money when you
Well, writing a children's book's not going to make you rich.
No, I don't think writing any kind of book makes you rich, especially not the first one.
But again, whatever money I make, I'm happy because I didn't intentionally write it to make money. Right. I wrote it for my grandchildren.
Yeah, obviously. So, but that kind of begs the question now that you've been through this process, and I know you're really only halfway through because now you have the whole launch and marketing piece to do, which we'll talk about in a sec. But after going through the initial process, do you think Octavia is going to have any more adventures that you're going to want to write about? Like,
for sure. Now that there's a new baby coming in the family, in summer, there'll be a new addition to the family. Yeah, I'm going to have some, because, I have to write another book.
Yeah.
The third child, I mean, he's not going to be, it's a he, by the way, he's not going to be in any of the books. So,
yeah, that's right. So you have to have another book. So
another book.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
I could see this being a whole series. Like it just,
I could write a series just on Octavia herself.
But it would be kind of cool to give each of them their own starring role in a book kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's kind of cool that you're doing it through Amazon through their whole print on demand. And I cannot remember the name of that process that they have. They have a name for it. Is it
KDP?
KDP. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, which allows you to, as you said, upload your books and sell them directly through Amazon, and people can buy sort of print on demand. And do you see it getting into libraries and things as well? Because I would think like libraries and schools would be such a great place to
well, I haven't approached my library yet because I don't have any physical copies to bring them. So, but yet the schools, there's a teacher in the States that's going to buy the book and read it to her class. My cousin's wife also works in a school. She's going to buy it to read to her class. So we'll see how that goes. And also it's going to be read on YouTube.
Oh, cool.
It's going to be reviewed on YouTube.
Okay.
That's the other part of marketing that I'm doing,
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the marketing, because like we said, like you're launching on April 20th, and there's the marketing that happens before the launch, and then there's the marketing that happens after the launch of the book. And that's a whole process in itself. So you mentioned before we started recording that you're getting some help with the marketing.
Yes.
So maybe tell us a little bit about like what that whole process has been like. What are you doing in terms of marketing for the book, and how are you going to get it out there into people's hands?
Well, one of the things we learned in our course, mastermind course, marketing is one of the classes we have.
I hope so.
And you need a website. And I said, okay. So I asked Christy Gardner from Peppercorn Creative to make. She did my cookbook addiction website.
Right. And she's a published author herself as well. She's written.
She is going to be. She's
she has a cookbook.
Well, yeah, she is. Of course, she's got a cookbook. But she's writing another book though on science fiction.
Yeah, she has a publishing deal for her sci-fi novels, so that's really cool. So she gets it. She understands.
Well, that's it. She wrote, and then I asked her, could you help me with marketing, please? Please. So she said, sure. So she's been handling my Instagram, my Facebook, and my newsletters. So she's going to be doing that for a couple of months. And then I'm handling the other part of, getting reviews and getting my, I got a book trailer.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So cute. Yeah. You have to do a lot of research to find out where you want your book to be, or where you want to show your book.
Yeah. So how are you doing that? Like because you're not traditionally published, so you don't have a publisher who's handling this for you, right? This is all on you to find the right people to get the book into their hands. So how did you go about the research? Did you have a really good idea in your head of who needed to have this book?
Well, first of all, I thought all the children's books authors blogs,
right,
the ones that promote them, I approach them.
Right. And
there's a lot of children's book blogs that I follow on Instagram. Okay. And I approach them, even on Facebook and that. I'm part of groups. So yeah, that's how you find out who you can contact.
Yeah. So you really got yourself out there then. And
yeah. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of sending emails and keeping track. You're trying to sell yourself, which I'm not good at.
No, well, that was going to be my next question. Like, what are you saying to these people when you contact them? And how do you keep track of it all? Because you don't want to be like harassing somebody, but at the same time, you need to be able to follow up and make sure that people heard you the first time.
Well, I've got everything written down. I'm the old-fashioned way. I know I could use an Excel spreadsheet. No. I write things down, and I can keep a track of them wherever I go this way. because I always have my notebook in my hands. And no, I explained to them, my name is, I wrote my first children's book. It's about this. And,
yeah.
All they can say is no.
Well, this is it. And it's so funny that you've said that a few times now. And this is the thing we get kind of caught up on when we're putting ourselves out there is we think, I don't know, that we're going to look silly or that the earth is going to open up and swallow us or something. But really the worst that can happen is somebody just says, no, sorry, this isn't a good fit, or this isn't for us right now. Like,
exactly.
It's okay.
Yeah, right? It is. Well, I think you have to get used to that, to accepting, like I said, criticism. I'm sure there's maybe some reviews will be that good. And I'm thinking a children's book, really, but you never know,
Yeah.
So you just gotta be ready to deal with it. That's all. But at this point in my life, it doesn't matter.
So you've got people who are going to be reviewing it. I've already seen a few reviews on my Instagram, I think, because I follow your author account. And I think there's been a few mentions of the book, but you've also got some reviews in your press kit. That was another thing you had to put together. You had to put together a press kit to send out, which looks great, by the way.
Well, thanks to Christy.
So this is a whole interesting part of it. And do you see yourself, like, you're doing this podcast, and are you going to be doing other interviews, or do you see yourself doing maybe potentially local television or anything like that? Like, where are you hoping to get to?
Well, I don't think television, but I'm going to be doing a few reviews, like written reviews for their blogs.
Okay.
And I've got to look somewhere too. I have to keep on researching where I could do podcasts for children, and but there's so many children's books that you're just one of a million. So you have to really try hard to make yourself, get out there. Podcasts, they have so many children's authors on their list, so anyways, I'll just keep going and see where it takes me. That's all.
Well, that's kind of an interesting thing, because the children's book market is very busy. Like, I think that anybody who buys books for kids knows. So is that something that worried you when you started this whole process? Like, did you feel like you had something different to add to this, what's already out there? Or was this really just a labor of love that you wanted to do for your grandchildren, or a bit of both, maybe?
A bit of both. It's different because it's my story.
Yeah.
It's my grandchildren's story.
Yeah.
It's their story, and I wrote about them.
Yeah.
So nobody else has written about them but me. So that's what makes it different from the other books.
Yes, that's very true. Our story is what makes us unique. So,
well, that's it,
So here's my big question for you. So you are at the stage of life where you're a grandmother. Yes. And I think that there are a lot of grandparents out there who have sat down and read their grandchildren's stories, or who have even made up stories for them, and have maybe had this passing idea that it would be kind of cool to write a book for their grandkids, but they don't think it's a realistic idea, or they don't think they're good enough, or they think that it's too late in life to try something new. But you've done it. And I have to ask, like, did you have any doubts or worry that it was too late to try something that was so radically different from anything you had done before? And what, like, were you worried, or was this just something that was so clear in your head that you knew you had to do it?
No, it was something clear. I never thought, oh, I'm too old to do this.
Good. I'm glad.
Because you're never too old
to
do
anything
not. You set your mind to, Yeah. And I wrote it because I am a grandparent, and
right.
It's a story about my grandchildren. So I had to be this age to write it.
Yes. Well, that's very true, right? Like, we don't think about it that way, but you couldn't have written this book 20 years ago.
No.
Yeah.
So, and, along the way, you have some doubts, it's all the other authors look so much younger, and what am I doing? But, they go away.
Yeah.
Because I already wrote it, so I have self-doubts.
So is that what made you push ahead, even on the days where you thought that, maybe I can't do this? Is you just kind of were like, well, you know what? It's written. I just have to keep going.
But again, when I had self-doubts like this, I had a lot of in my writers group, there are a few grandmothers.
Good. I'm glad.
Not the only one. Yeah, you have to have a mindset that when you set your mind to something, you've got to do it.
Yes.
There's no, you're too old, you're too young, you're too,
yeah,
just do it and forge ahead and it gets done. Yeah.
I know. And it's so funny because we all get so caught up in our heads. And this isn't even just about age. This is just about, sometimes it's just about trying something new. Sometimes it's thinking we're not good enough because, Instagram and Facebook let us see what everyone else is doing. And it's like, well, I could never do it as well as they do it. But we kind of forget that, like you said earlier, like, nobody else can tell our story but us. So exactly. There's always a place for you. So I think it's fantastic that you're doing this. Like I can picture you reading this to your grandkids.
Oh, I can hardly wait. Octavia doesn't know about it yet.
Oh, she doesn't?
No.
Okay, because that was one of the things I was going to ask you is like, what does she think about having a book that's all about her? So
she'll be pleased, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure she'll be thrilled.
I would go to her daycare and show her book because,
Yeah. Oh, so that's a really exciting part to look forward to.
Yeah.
Actually giving her very own copy. So,
and Ludovic too, he's going to have his copy too.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them a French one and English one because they speak French at home.
Right. Okay. So that's, that's exciting. I look forward to hearing about that moment. So through this whole process that you've gone through, what do you think, like, what was the biggest surprise to you in all of this from start to where you're at now?
Well, my biggest surprise was that I actually did it.
Fair enough.
It's not something that, I thought I would do like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not something that I thought I would, where I am today. I couldn't see myself 10 years ago where I am now.
Right. But
I think too that I had support from my family and my friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that not surprisingly, because my friends and my family always supported me in everything I did. So that's good to know. But
yeah, no, of course. Doesn't always happen, unfortunately. No. So the fact that they did is really
well, my husband has been really supportive.
That's fantastic.
Because I'm holed up in my office all day, and dinner doesn't get done sometimes, and
So that's great that you've had all this support. And what's been the most rewarding part of all of it?
The rewarding part is going to be when I see that book in my hands.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Like, or do you feel like the most
give
rewarding
it to
part?
my grandchildren?
Right. Yeah.
That's going to be the most rewarding part for me.
Oh, that's going to be so exciting. Yeah, really. So I was going to ask you if there will be more books to come, and it sounds like there will be. So that's really, really cool. Have you already started on the next one, or are you going to wait till you've gone through the?
No, I'm going to wait till I go through all this. Yeah. I have to see the baby first to get an idea what he's going to be like.
Yeah, but I could seriously see that this turning into like not just another book, but multiple books. So particularly if it takes off. Are you going to be kind of hitting up all the local news outlets, not necessarily television, but local, because you will be a local author, when you walk into a bookstore and they have the shelf for the local authors, that will be you.
I haven't done that yet. That's a good idea.
Write that down.
I've been so busy looking for blogs to host my book. But I haven't, that's a good thing. I'm going to do some research in there and see.
You're a local author. And
Oh
You're
my
also
God.
so well. This has been so cool, and I am so excited for you. I've known Liliana for a long time. We've worked together in the past, and she's been very supportive of me when I started my illustration business, and I could not be happier for you. It could not be happening to a lovelier person. So
Well, thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you, Melissa.
I'm so thrilled for you, and I can't wait to see your name up on Amazon. And I hope that I see it in my local Indigo store too at some point down the road. That would be very exciting. So I could.
Well, I don't know if I could. I'm going to find out because they said contact your local Indigo store, which
Right.
there's only one here in where I live.
There's a Vancouver company that helps independent authors. It's called Page Two Publications, I think. They help independent authors get their books printed and into stores. They handle all the distribution for you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one that you might want to check out.
Thank you.
That's definitely one to try out, but that would give you more opportunity to get into a wider in-store distribution kind of thing without having to store the books in your garage.
Yeah, exactly. Because
that's a lot.
okay, I have so many cookbooks. I can't store any books.
That's right. And now you have to have your children's book collection. So, well, this is fantastic. And for everybody who is wondering, where can our audience find you online if they're interested in following you or purchasing a copy of the book?
Well, it's going to be available on Amazon on April 20th on .com.ca, all the Amazon dots.
Great.
And you can reach me at my Instagram account at Liliana Tommasini author.
That's Tommasini with 2 M's and 1
2 M's and 1 S. And on Facebook, again, Liliana Tommasini author.
Okay. And what is your website?
My website is lilianatommasini.com.
Okay. And we will put links to all of this in the show notes so that people can find them. And we will try and put purchase links to buy in the show notes as well if the book is up on Amazon by the time this interview goes out, which will be close to the launch date. So yeah, but the book will be available on April 20th on Amazon. And so check it out. It's called Octavia Can Do It. And yeah, I think that's it for this week. But Liliana, it's been a pleasure. And I am, again, so excited for you that this is happening.
Thank you. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on your podcast.
Oh, no, I'm thrilled that you, that we could bring you on. This has been great. So yeah, that's it for this week, everybody. And so I will be back next week with another brand new episode. So until next week, I will talk to you all soon. Thank you so much for joining us for the And She Looked Up Creative Hour. If you're looking for links or resources mentioned in this episode, you can find detailed show notes on our website at andshелookedup.com. While you're there, be sure to sign up for our newsletter for more business tips, profiles of inspiring Canadian creative women, and so much more. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe to the show via your podcast app of choice so you never miss an episode. We always love to hear from you, so we'd love it if you'd leave us a review through iTunes or Apple Podcasts. Drop us a note via our website at andshелookedup.com or come say hi on Instagram at andshелookedup. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.